You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
I've heard, in the past, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, when someone complains to a certain fever pitch about the country and the way things are, I've heard minorities been told, well, go back to Africa or go back to wherever, Mexico, go back to the Middle East if you don't like the way things are here. So my question is, first, I would think that you do agree that probably at least around half of Americans think that we should have diversity and different cultures should share in the direction of this country and the legislation of this country. So if that's the case, then that would make you and followers of your train of thought the minority. So why do you feel that if the majority is for the United States as we know it, then why do you feel that you all have the right to take it back to something that it was before that the majority don't want anymore?
I'll be quite blunt.
Please.
I really don't care what most people think. Most people have bad taste in almost everything. So most people are wrong. So I don't care. And also, in terms of, history, did most people, if you had a poll, did they agree with feudalism when they were living under it? Did they agree with, did the monarchs have, good opinion polls? They probably did. Most people are, humans are herd animals at some level. We conform. We want to be part of a pack. Our minds will conform to a certain, structure, way of thinking, way of believing. What's up is up and down, and so on. And so that can always change. There are paradigmatic changes in history. And that's when people start thinking differently. And these are usually driven by elites, but they can often come from different places in society. But societies change and belief changes. I mean, what we believe now in 2017 is radically different. I mean, if you had told your grandparents that, the biggest celebrity in America, or one of the biggest, is a former Olympic athlete who's become a transsexual. They wouldn't even know what the hell you're talking about. And the fact is, mores and culture and morality changes. It's not fixed, and so I want to change it.
All right, Mayor Signer, mayor of Charlottesville, and actually Tom Perriello, among others, have denounced your actions here in Charlottesville. Are they just? What's your response to that? Are they just missing your fact?
Well, I denounce him as a dork. These politicians, particularly these little municipal people, are just so contemptible little people. I don't care what he thinks. And he's just, he's a nobody, and he's a meaningless person. And we'll be back. I'll just tell him that. That's the degree to which someone like, Mayor Singer affects me. I don't care. If someone that contemptible agreed with me, I would start to question everything. I would say I must be wrong because this loser actually thinks I'm right. So that's what I think of him.
So Richard, the N-word, and you know what that is. Do you use the N-word? How do you feel about that word?
Well, nagging really does bother me.
Nigger.
Oh, that one. Can you say it? Or?
Yeah. This is this is public radio, so I don't think that we are allowed by FCC guidelines.
I won't.
Yeah.
Look, I obviously don't use that word just because I'm a polite person. But I would say that
unless they make you mad.
I know that you guys get to use that word amongst yourself, and it has a different meaning. If you say it, it has a different meaning than when I say it. So obviously I don't say that word because I'm not rude. But I do think that our obsession with this word has just gotten out of control. I mean, at some point, the sky is not going to fall because a white person uttered the N-word, I mean, I think we need to, we've fetishized it almost to a religious point. So I think we need to get over it. It's not that bad, come on.
Now, I'm curious, based on your answer, though, so you do not say it in public or to a black person, but you do use it?
No.
You don't? Okay.
I've certainly used it in my life, sir. I don't, It's a word, sure, but
Okay.
it's not something I'm not going up and insulting anyone, on a daily basis. So no, I don't use this word regularly, but I'm not afraid to use it. It's just another word. I curse too in private.
Right. Yeah. So last question before we wrap up, and
You
again,
can call me Hunky, by the way, if you want to.
oh yeah,
I'm
okay, I appreciate that.
Whatever.
Thank you for permission.
So right before we wrap up, and we appreciate your time, and we love the fact of no matter what we disagree on, what we agree on, we're able to at least talk about it, right? I think that's
right.
good for our society to be able to have this conversation and not to to outcast ourselves completely from each other. So
Absolutely.
so my last question is in regards to when you see what could be called Pan-Africanism or Black nationalism, do you feel like that holds the same weight and the same right, and can you even see a divide here to where both can exist?
Yes, absolutely. I think that and I am a pan-Europeanist. I certainly, understand and admire, ethnic nationalism. I think that's very important. Like, let's say you're a nationalist if you're Irish or you're Welsh or German or Italian or something. But yeah, no, I think more in terms of a pan-Europeanism. That is, we are Europeans, and we're Europeans around the world. We're Europeans in Australia. We're Europeans in North America. And so I totally understand that drive. I am a pan-Europeanist, and I would be more than willing. I would be really excited about collaborating with Pan-African thinkers and politicians and ideologues, and I think that we actually would find some common ground, or at the very least, we could talk to each other in a similar language. And I think there could be some fruitful collaboration that could come from something like that. So yeah, I do definitely support other people's rights to organize and to think racially.
And within that, is there a fear? Because I wondered this, and I've had this conversation with other white people. Is there a fear of black power, or is it just a fear of losing your power? In other words, do you fear that black people will commit the same atrocities if they're given leadership that white people implicated on our ancestors?
Well, I mean, I think that's a good question. Look, I think it is. I don't want to feel insecure, in where I live, in my realm, and I certainly don't want my grandchildren to be a minority in a land that really isn't theirs. And I would say that, generally speaking, I mean, being a minority, you often get abused, and that doesn't mean, if you're Armenians in Turkey or the Ottoman Empire, if you're African Americans in the United States, and so on. Being a minority, it's not a good thing. You're often a scapegoat. You're often in a position of social domination. You're often excluded. You're often, and so on. So it is something that I don't want to experience. It's something that I wouldn't really wish for anyone to experience.
Okay. All right. Again, Richard, we appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time and talking to us, okay?
Yeah, my pleasure.
All right.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
Yes.
Take care.
You're tuned in to In My Humble Opinion. Maxilia Robinson, Charles Lewis, Razor, and Nathaniel Starr speaking with the one, the only white nationalist, Richard Spencer. We'll be right back.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
Get involved if you have ideas of what the city should do. Please chime in. Please be present at those council meetings, because y'all know how we like to encourage y'all. In my humble opinion, you gotta be involved. Right. We can't complain, right, Max?
That's right. Gotta
be involved. Gotta be at those school board meetings and all that. So we have Razor and Nathaniel Starr in studio, of course. Guys, but before we go to the next segment, y'all want to chime in with anything? And Nathaniel, you gotta mellow me out a little bit more, because all this conversation is riling me up, man. I'm gonna use a little 15-second interlude, but Razor, you got anything?
Yes, absolutely. As soon as the music gets started, I'm talk over. Now, what I was trying to figure out what things he was talking about, because what things were they talking about implementing? I understand that. Well, let me go back. I did not know he was in favor of the statute. You know what I'm saying?
But make sure that that's in context. So he's saying that he doesn't think that we should go through the time and money to remove it versus putting up other things, like he mentioned Thurgood Marshall, and I know in the past people have mentioned Julian Bond.
Right.
So Mayor Signer is saying that instead of what it would take to take it down, he's saying that we should sort of reface it. We should remodel it to make it show all of history. And like he mentioned in Wall Street, how they have the woman pushing against the stock market bull. He was saying how we could have something here that kind of overshadows the Lee statue.
Totally different. That's like having the equivalent. I love when Max said, "Can we have a statue of Nat Turner?" Like, I smiled in my soul when she said that. That's like having a noose hanging up on a cherry tree, but we got a picture of Martin Luther King over to the side.
Gotcha.
One doesn't cancel out the other. It doesn't work that way. So I'm smiling when I look to the left, but my heart aches when I look to the right. No.
Right.
No.
And Mr. Starr.
Yeah.
Before you serenade us with a sweet melody, what do you think, my brother? 'Cause are you in the city limits or you in the county?
I am.
Okay.
I'm not far from these statues, actually.
Okay. So when you drive past it, you walk past it. What do you feel?
I think that I have a little girl I mentioned before, and kids often ask why. So I'm dreading the day that we're walking through this park and my daughter asks who this guy is, and I tell her who he is and what he stood for and what he represented, and she asks, why is there a statue of him here? That is a question that I know that I'm going to have difficulty answering, because it's you walk past these things. I don't think that people really understand the emotional effect that these things have. They just view them, they're venerating these guys. It's these statues are celebratory. Statues, you celebrate people who are good people. You heard the
other guy say it was their God.
And that's insane. That's insane.
But he also told you he did not believe in God.
Right, so that's kind of a contradiction. Wow, so he doesn't believe in God, but this guy is their God.
That's confused.
That's extremely.
Right.
It's not my God. That's for sure.
Yeah.
And so, as I was listening to the mayor talk, I was thinking to myself, what could they actually add that would give it actual historical context? There's nothing that they can add that won't make us feel alienated further.
Right.
There's nothing. What are you going to add? Like little black slaves behind it being pulled with chains? And
the movie to Django.
Yeah. So what kind of historical context are you going to add that actually somehow soothes the pain?
The oppressiveness. Yeah.
You can't. So you have to. You have to do the right thing.
Yeah.
You and even aside from the obvious moral wrong of the whole scenario, is the fact these guys didn't even win. Like, what are you celebrating? Like, they didn't even win.
And that was something that the first guy that what's his name again?
Spencer
said, is that some heroes lose. In what context? Where?
And you celebrate them?
Yeah, where do you celebrate the losers? It doesn't.
It's illegal. It's illegal to have Nazi propaganda and anything of the sort in Germany.
Yeah, and you notice something that he said. He said he doesn't care what other people think. He said most people have bad taste.
Right.
So what he was saying was that the United States, as we have it today, he feels like that's not what our founding fathers intended. They wanted white supremacy.
They certainly
did. That's what he's standing on.
And they certainly did. And I would agree with him that most people have bad taste, and he and those founding fathers are a definite. They're the founding fathers of that bad taste.
He said later in the interview that it wasn't his ideology, wasn't something that he was taught. As an adult, he kind of tried to figure out his place in the world, felt like he was like out at sea and kind of waving in open water. And so he had to find a place where he belonged. I'm paraphrasing, but you guys remember that part of the interview. And my thing is that how do you know you didn't choose the wrong side?
Yeah.
Well, see, when you look at, let's look at like in the schools, bullies.
He talks about humans being people wanting to belong to groups.
Absolutely. And that's, think about it like in schools, like bullies. How do they feel more comfortable? By standing on the oppressive necks of other people that they can take advantage of. That is no different. In my opinion, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. So Mr. Starr, can you serenade us real quick? Just something real short, just to take us to break.
Absolutely. Caramel rain, chocolate thunder. Girl, you gotta be a lust for you, trapped inside this odyssey. Cause I ought to see your face when I open my eyes. And I ought to see you riding shotgun by my side. Cause I ought to be, no, I gotta be the one that sneaks up while you're cooking to pinch you while you're not looking. Ghetto romance. Girl, I travel time with you, looking in the glass. Dag, we make a fine picture, a lot to see. I see my future bride to be. Girl, would you be my sweet mahogany? You've gotta be the hottest thing since fire, so nothing can cool this desire but this girl's water.
That's not bad.
Water, she's my water, water, you're my water, water, she's my water, water.
My man.
When you got talent, you don't need no auto tune.
Hey,
you ain't no talent.
Hey, Razor, let me tell you something, man. First time I heard that song, I was at an event that he performed it at.
Right.
And man, let me tell you, boy, the ladies was just swooning.
Absolutely. I can imagine.
There is a poet in there. Let me tell you when I figured it out. When you started talking about walking your daughter through the park where the Lee statue is, I ain't never heard it sound like that before.
Yeah, like
daughter through the park, and
that's my jam right there.
I'm Facebook Live when he sings, but I wish they could hear the conversation that Charles and Max is having as well with me on the radio. But like all I could think of when he was singing that song, like I love my wife to the ends of the earth, and I wish I had you when I first met her, because I'd have had you walking behind me playing music like that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I would have a trench coat on, but I'm only 5'8", so exactly ain't sexy. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless,
I appreciate
you're a bad
that,
boy.
Man.
Yeah. You're a bad boy.
All right, awesome. So we're gonna go ahead and take a break, and we're gonna bring our next guest in. All right.
All right.
IMHO, in my humble opinion. Y'all remember, hit us up, IMHO 101 Jams on that Gmail and that Facebook and that YouTube. All right, be right back.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis. Only on 101.3 Jams.
All right, you're tuned in to In My Humble Opinion. Guest for this segment is Gary Flowers, on-air personality, humanitarian, and social justice advocate. Gary, thanks again for joining us. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much for inviting me today.
Absolutely. So I'm sure you've heard all the news of what's happening here in Charlottesville. We're in the middle of a battle to remove Confederate statues. Racial tensions are flying high. White nationalist Richard Spencer has visited our city and protested, resembling what looked like a KKK rally. We want to get your comments or your thoughts on what's happening here, and maybe some encouragement for those who wish to have this statue brought down.
Well, first, let me say, those who support the Confederacy are patriotically schizophrenic. It is incongruent for people to, in quotes, honor the Confederacy when it was a foreign nation that took up arms against the United States of America and lost a very bloody war known as the American Civil War. The Articles of War dictate that a vanquished nation must surrender its artifacts, to include its weapons, its uniforms, and its flags. Whereas the Confederate flag may have a role in museums for the future, it has no place of honor in American society. It is tantamount to the swastika being flown in Germany, which is illegal. And so statues honoring Confederate generals are just the opposite. It is dishonorable. It is to say, to have a Confederate statue in the United States of America, to have a statue in honor of Emperor Hirohito, who lost to the United States in World War II,
or to have a statue of Adolf Hitler, who lost to the United States in World War II. No other country recognizes or honors losers of wars against its nation. Right. And so therefore, there is no place for Confederate statues in America with honor.
Mr. Flowers, this is Charles Lewis. Thanks for joining us again. So now, what about the perspective of the white nationalist that says that they wouldn't have to do this if the country wasn't out of control and didn't go away from what our founding fathers wanted? Because white nationalists and the alt-right believes that the founding fathers wanted white supremacy. So they feel like they're just bringing it back to what it was supposed to be. How do you respond to that?
The founding fathers were schizophrenic as well. They wrote on paper that all men, and I would put in parentheses women as well, but all citizens have certain unalienable rights, among them life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness. Whereas they may have practiced white supremacy, what they wrote on paper was that America was e pluribus unum, out of many one. And so that argument by the alternative right and Richard Spencer and his followers is vacuous.
Okay.
All right. Can you give us a message specifically to those that want this white supremacy to reign and the future that we're headed in?
Well, white supremacy is based on alternative facts and fake news. There is no scientific basis to being white. There's only one race, and that's the human race. People that we consider white or European have distinctive features because of adaptations to climate. Lighter skin, thinner hair, thinner lips, blue eyes. No scientist disputes that all humankind originates on the continent of Africa. And so therefore we're all African, even Richard Spencer. And going forward, we should not perpetuate the falsehood of race. There's only one race, the human race. And if we turn to each other and not on each other, maybe we could live harmoniously on this third rock from the sun.
All right. Gary Flowers, thank you for joining us. You're tuned in to In My Humble Opinion. We appreciate you, Gary. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Call me back regularly and often, and I'll be there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Rosa, Nathaniel Starr.
Yes, sir.
One race.
We are one. Now the
Human
one
race. And
I totally understand with what he was saying. But the one thing that pops into my mind that I know some pessimists would say is that kind of whitewashes it. What do y'all think about that? Is that denying your history if you say we're one race, we're the human race?
It is.
Or do you feel like that would bring the unification that we need?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a proud black man. You know what I'm saying? I don't feel the need to blend everything together in order to make everybody kumbaya, so to speak. Now, that's not saying on the racist side of things, but I'm just saying that I don't believe that you have to blend everybody together to make everybody feel equal. That's just that's my opinion.
Right. And Nathaniel, hope you don't mind me mentioning your wife is from Africa. She was born in Africa.
Yeah, born and raised.
So, I mean, is there? I know she's not here with us, but is there any insight there as far as when people say, okay, like that's where we originated from, and so, you know, like we all need to show respect to that, or her being now literally African American, like does she see things differently? You know, as far as race here versus race there, are we just as black or are we less black? You know, is it?
You know, I hate to speak for her because she's a
right,
brilliant lady,
and maybe just from your
Smart
experiences,
man.
Yeah, maybe,
brilliant lady.
and maybe you can speak from your experiences, like, you know, with her family, or, you know, times of,
you know, I think that you know, I've been to Africa a few times, like yourself. I've been to West Africa, and I visited the slave castles, and I've got an opportunity to hear, you know, from that side. I can't say verbatim what I heard. It was moving, that's for sure. I think that, I mean, you have problems everywhere. There, everybody's black, so it's probably a class problem. Here, we have the obvious issues that have been permeated since the inception of this place. But I don't think that. I think that it's possible for people to love themselves, love the culture that they come from, without making others feel less than human. True. for their cultures as well. Like, you know what I mean? I don't think that because I love Africa or or what have you, that translates to I don't love white people, or vice versa.
Right.
You know what I mean? I think that people can love themselves, love their culture, and be fine.
And this is, the crux that a Christian may fall into, because if you are a Christian and you believe in God, then one race, the human race, makes sense.
Right.
The problem I have with that is that organizations like the Ku Klux Klan claim Christianity to the fullest. And they use verses
that's
and
perverted.
stuff. Right. And they use verses out of the Bible to enslave or go against people of color, saying your skin is your curse and slaves are okay, and you know what I'm saying. So that's my issue that I have with that. So
let me read some comments from you from the one and only Nikki Giovanni, poetess, author, professor out at Virginia Tech, and she says, "I'm so proud." She sent this to me. With regard to what's happening here in Charlottesville, I'm so proud of the young black and white Americans who are so bravely fighting this second civil war against the liars and deceivers who would destroy this wonderful country of ours. I am proud and pleased as an older generation to give them a shout out. My generation took away segregation, and this generation is taking away racism. What do you think?
Hey,
it's deeper than words.
Salute.
Yeah, I mean, that's powerful.
Yeah,
that's heavy. And going back to your previous statement where you said that to be Christian, that's the thing. To be a Christian is to be Christ-like, and I never read anything in there that said that he hated anybody because of what they look like. So the Klan people, that's a perverted, distorted. It's not even Christianity.
Yeah.
They can put whatever up and say whatever they want, but that's the way left. That's like ISIS and Islam. And I mean, you can't take the most horrific, terrible, perverted way of looking at something and those people aren't Christian.
You're listening to In My Humble Opinion with Maxilia Robinson and Charles Lewis, only on 101.3 Jams.
I have Miss Giovanni on the line. And Nikki, we were just discussing your remarks about what's happening here in Charlottesville, your generation ending segregation, this generation ending racism. Or trying to. So it sounds like that it takes battles to win the war, right?
Well, this battle, though, it does, but this battle is a battle of words, isn't it? So we have a president who uses words against us because he constantly lies. So no one actually knows, or some of us think he should just be impeached and that'd be the end of it. But a lot of people say, well, we don't know whether he means it or not. But of course he does. He's used words against these youngsters because he constantly lies to them. And they're beginning to think, oh, there's nothing I can do. So I am, again, very, very proud of this generation. I'm proud of course, Black Lives Matter. I'm proud of what the youngsters, black and white, are doing there in New Orleans, and what you're doing here. We've got to. America deserves better, and so I'm glad to see that people are not becoming discouraged to the point that they will not, that they just want to sit home and have a beer and get fat and do nothing. They're still fighting for the country.
Right. We reached out to a couple of people to get their remarks on what's happening here in Charlottesville, and I will tell you, one of those people being Richard Spencer himself, white nationalist, alt-right, a gentleman who coined the term alt-right. His ideology, what's your response? What do you make of that?
I think it's damn pitiful that all you have to offer to the world is the color of your skin, and your skin is the color that it is because you didn't happen to be a little bit darker. There's a T-shirt that I wear. A lot of people have seen it. It says it has the flag on it. It says we're all mutt. There's nobody in America that doesn't have some black blood or some white blood. So I think it's damn pitiful that he's running around trying to be like, I'm really white, and that's what I offer the world.
He might just lose it if he found out he had some black in him.
Oh, and I'm sure, I'm just, and again, this is just reality. I'm sure he does. We don't actually want him. So he can go on. But it's just pitiful that all you have to offer the world is the color of your skin. That's just a damn shame.
Hey, Miss Giovanni, it's Charles. Thanks again for joining us. And now I heard you mention the different generations. So why do you think it is that there's so many trying to repeat history? Like, what does that say about our human race, that we have people who are saying we need to take this country back, we need to make it great again? Like, what does that say about us?
I think that we have to remember that Hillary Clinton, for whatever, however, I'm not, refining that. We have to remember that Hillary Clinton got some 2.5 million, I'm not sure the number on that, but at least 2.5 million more votes. So it's not that the country thought that Trump was a good idea. We also have to remember that no matter how they're going to look at it, his relationship with Putin, they stole this election. They took this election. Which it's important that we continue with looking into how they did it, so that we can prevent it from happening again. If we did it 1, 2, 3, we still Donald Trump. If it was this side and that side, Donald Trump would not be elected. So I'll say it again. I'm very proud of the young people who are out there saying things like, "We're not going to give up on our country." The Second World War, Civil War. The first Civil War was fought with bullets. This one is fought, as I say again, with words. I'm very proud.
Absolutely. Miss Giovanni, thank you for taking time out of your day to speak with us. We really appreciate it.
So, and Miss,
thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. I think Charles has one more thing to say. Just a second.
Yeah, and I just wanted you to let us know what you're up to nowadays. What's high on your priority list right now in the work that you're doing?
Well, I have a book that I actually have 2 books. One young people's book is called I Am Love, that I did with Ashley Bryan, and one adult book called A Good Cry. And those books will be out in October, and I'm very happy about that. And I will do a little touring. I'm getting to the point that touring is it takes a little more out of me than it used to. There was a time I could, fly to California and fly up to, Seattle and then go to Dallas, and it was all in a day's work. But I slowed down a little bit, and I'm proud of that. And I'm always happy to be meeting the youngsters. I'm still traveling to colleges, and I'm still having the opportunity to meet youngsters. So I'm very happy about that.
Right. Okay. Well, and I just want to let you know from my heart that even though I'm just a small town host and producer in a small market, I want you to know that having Nikki Giovanni on speed dial is the highlight of my career. It makes me feel like I made it.
Listen,
thanks a lot.
If your tour brings you to
I am at a retirement home. Well, it's not retirement home. It's for the old ladies, and so I'm going to go. You can probably hear some of the noises in the background. But I did. Thank you for calling me, and I wish the kids good luck. Thank you.
If your tour brings you to Charlottesville, give us a call.
Oh, I love Charlottesville. They have good restaurants. I sure will.
Yeah, we got steak. We got steakhouses.
I know it.
All right. Take care. Bye.